The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Good morning. Good morning. It's Wednesday, the 5th of June, 2024. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lenders, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Maya Palacio. He's Teo Deal, and he'll also be bringing you your news break a little bit later this morning. Good morning, Teo.
Hey girl, I am super excited. I'm super tired, but just when the intro music played and everything came together, everything started, adrenaline just hit the body, flowing through my limbs. I am happy and excited to be co-hosting with you for the first time. So thank you for having me and helping me.
Yes, definitely. It was actually a fun decision. And I was just like, oh, yeah, it's going to be me and Teo, both the news reporters, on right now being your co-host this morning. So I feel like it might be a little bit of a different vibe, but a good one.
Yeah, I want to do. I hope we could do our best to not just to loosen up, because whenever I think about news presentation, it's deliberately tight. You know, like it's not meant to be inherently entertaining. It's supposed to be informative first, but everything that surrounds the news, that's a whole other vibe. So we're going to work to protect that.
Vibe. Yes. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's Wednesday, so it's the middle of the week, so it's almost over. So how's everyone feeling as we go into the end of sort of like the work week? Just want to thank real quickly a new member that came on board, Shawnette Bow. So she became a new YouTube member, which means a lot to us. Yes, big ups. Thank you so much for joining in and being a part of the Daily Hour community in a new and exciting way. So that's really cool. Every single support really matters for the show. We say it often.
I would be willing to bet that the Daily Hour is the local media outlet or local social media platform owner that has the most Bermudian members on the channel, because I had this conversation with some friends like a month ago, asked them, like, are you not just subscribed, but are you a member of many YouTube channels? And the Daily Hour was the only show that anybody mentioned, or any channel that anybody mentioned they were a member of. It's a big deal. It's a button like nobody pushes except for this program.
That's actually a good point to see. I'd like to know more about that, but because I'm not that heavy on YouTube, to be honest with you, but I just subscribe. I don't think I've become a member to anything. So yeah.
Oh yeah, no, you're of the age where TikTok and IG are your video-based social media platforms. I'm sorry, I forgot. YouTube's for the oldies. You serious though? You're really not on YouTube like that?
Sometimes, literally for this show only, I think. That's the only time I really go on YouTube. And if there's some sort of new music video out from an artist that I love.
Oh, wow.
And then if I'm searching like reviews and tag cameras and stuff, if I'm researching for that's when you'll catch me.
I got you. See, I think people my age, that is to say, folks on the second half of their life, like middle-aged and up, I think we use YouTube the way that people used to use TNT, like a channel that always has something on that you'd be all right with listening to or watching, like reruns of Law and Order, NBA basketball, Family Feud. Like it was like perfect background programming, and I think YouTube occupies a similar space for old people like me, whereas y'all need them short, snappy clips. Just like pop, pop, pop.
YouTube because it has become like from what I've researched and saw, like it's still a big part of being like up there when it comes to social media right now. Like YouTube is still top dog. Probably like
Yeah.
well, TikTok's climbing, but YouTube's still top dog. All right, so good morning, greetings everyone, and thank you for being a part of this daily routine and your daily routine. We have a good one today as we welcome Bricen Hakeman, the CEO of Mailboxes, to the show to talk about the recent Mailbox Art Scholarship. So the daily play today is actually music. So Terry, you're gonna have to be ready for that at the end of it. Don't forget to subscribe to our website as well and follow us on all our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on the show. Help us as we go beyond the mic, as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Good morning, Susan Ingham. She says, awesome Wednesday, Maya and Teo. So interesting not seeing Jamal's name on the screen right there.
Yeah, it's unusual, right?
It's nice to have us here today. So we do have a question this morning. We have a question this morning, but before we engage and kick it off, Teo, I think you have a bit of background that you want to share with us.
Yeah. I'm gonna do my best Rachel Maddow impression, where I'm gonna tell you something so that I can tell you something else or ask you a question about something else. So, as I'm confident most of us know, the UK is going to the polls in a month, July 4th, and it looks like Labour is going to demolish the Conservatives. And one of the policies that they're rolling out to make that happen is making it more expensive for people to go to private school. Now, Labour's pitch in the UK is to remove the long-standing charitable exemption from private schools, to impose a 20% value-added tax or VAT on the service, to raise about $1.5 billion to improve the public system in education. Now, there's a relatively small, really angry group of parents that are beefing about this change in price because it will probably price middle-class families out, meaning that they're going to have to leave and enter the public system. Now, here's why I'm bringing this up. In the UK, only 7% of students in the country are privately educated with no government support. Now, this is on the higher end of the OECD average, as you can see here, which shows 5% of students in developed countries are privately educated. France got about 10%, Singapore is around 7%, the US is under 10%. And as you can see right there, in Bermuda, families are as much as 10 times more likely than the OECD average to opt out of publication into private. Now, this split has been increasing for a couple generations. And as you can see from this graph from the Royal Gazette published in 2022, the trend has been accelerating hard in the past decade. So here's the question for this morning that we really need some help understanding. What makes that happen in Bermuda, uniquely among developed countries? Why do 1 in 2 local families, like a coin flip, choose to go private? Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it just a weird, negligible thing? Or is it something that does not serve our collective interest? Like it's something we need to fix. But in order to fix it, we got to understand it. But that's the question. Like, why do 1 in 2 local families choose to educate their children privately, which is an extraordinarily higher rate than you find basically everywhere else in the world? Like, why?
All right. Okay. So yeah, question of the morning. Everyone there is basically, why are there many more private school enrollments in Bermuda versus the rest of the developed world? Right? Because we're seeing from
Mhm.
what your stats showed that, Bermuda, we have such a high percentage. What was that? Almost like 50% versus some other places are
Yeah,
like 8% or 6%.
yeah,
Granted, we have a smaller population as well, but it's still, that's even surprising too, for the size that we are to send so many to private
exactly. And
institutions.
not just to send so many, but also to have a community where the market is primed to basically accommodate the high number of relative private schools that we've got, right? Like in a community of about 60,000, to have as many private schools as we do is it just doesn't fit. Like it doesn't map onto the standard proportions that you find around the world. And I've been thinking, well, before I present my first theory, what do you think? Why do you think this is, Maya?
Okay, so I'm gonna use my journalism background right now because I remember asking the question prior to before, just like why do we send so many students to private school? Why do we have so many students going to private school, not public school? And a lot of people's responses, I recall, was like just having a lack of faith in the public school system as well, which was upsetting to hear. But like also that was like a big thing, just like and making sure that the children were in a space where they felt like the curriculum was set to a different, I guess, standard, that they have different courses within their institutions versus public schools sometimes. But that was like a big thing, was just a lack of faith in public schools and wanting to put students in private.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the most immediately accessible explanation. But where it doesn't hold for me is, you go anywhere in the world, like in the US, right? It's not as though their public education systems are that good, particularly in the former Confederate states, like below the Mason-Dixon line, like Mississippi, Alabama, like where slaves were held for as long as they could possibly get away with it. One of the consequences of those sins is that they're not great at educating people, and they obviously weren't before. So even with that in place, right, in the other countries where everybody's got complaints about the public education system, you still do not see the same split between the private and public educated population. So, like, is it that our public education system is that much worse, like 10 times worse, or people believe it to be 10 times worse, which doesn't seem plausible to me? Like why would we hate it that much more than everywhere else in the world?
It's such an amazing jump, like, because like you said, it's 50-50. So even though it might seem like, oh, it's kind of equal here, but compared to other places, it's such a larger distance. All right. So audience, it's a yes or no question for you guys here on this topic. Is a higher private school enrollment in Bermuda a good thing? Yes or no? Is a higher private school enrollment in Bermuda a good thing? Yes or no? Simple yes or no question there. Tay, what do you believe? Yes or
Okay.
no?
Well, here's my first theory. The spike in private school education, as you could see from that graph we presented a minute ago, really accelerated about 10 years ago. Now, around 10 years ago was when the national education reform, I'm sorry, 20 years ago, was when the national education reform basically replaced the prior system, where it was just primary schools and secondary schools. And then middle schools were introduced, the mega high schools were introduced. And that's when you see like a meaningful migration out of the public system into private, specifically because under those circumstances, families really weren't willing to make their kids guinea pigs. I think that's probably just plain true. But over the years following the introduction of the new system, that migration, that evacuation of the public system from like middle class and working class Bermudian folks, it just kept going. Like, it never slowed down. It never stopped. It hasn't like hit what you would think would be a natural equilibrium. Like it may be within like the next 10 years, there's more privately educated students in Bermuda than publicly educated students, which is insane to think about, right? Like, we all believe that education is a human right, that everybody's entitled to it, and yet we much rather pay for it, which it's hard to reconcile.
Yeah, let's see what some of the audience are saying. Let's see. Charles H. Jeffers is saying, good morning. I believe it happens when there is little to no faith in the public system. Yep. But we can't ignore the fact that it has also become a status thing in Bermuda. Suzanne Ingram also chimes in. She says, there has not been any trust in the public system for many, many years as well. Let's go back to what Charles said about this, about being like a status thing in Bermuda. Like, elitist thing, or like wanting to like show that you kind of like have it type thing?
Yeah, a classist thing. It's basically proof that you're on the come up if you can afford to send your kids to private school, because the average price is 5 figures a year. And we talk all the time about like the economic pressure that people are under, and the one space that doesn't get negatively affected by people not having as much money in their pocket is private school enrollment. Like, by hook or by crook, people are going to figure out how to pay them fees. And I think part of the motivation, as Charles mentioned, was basically to signify to your small community of friends, loved ones, and folks that spend time thinking about you, that you're doing well enough to make this work, even if you're having to choose between like getting your prescriptions and keeping them school fees covered. It's about signifying that you're winning in your life, at least partially, I think. But let's get one more comment. Oh no, I'm sorry, I misread that. Forgive me. So here's the interesting thing, though, Mine. Now, this I don't think this is a stretch, but it's going to sound kind of nuts. So,
All right.
When was public education made free in Bermuda at the point of service? Do you know?
When was public education made free in Bermuda?
How long ago do you think that entered our lives nationally?
Public schools?
Free public schools. Because
free public schools?
There was a period where some of the schools almost all the schools were mixed, where
you had
they
to,
got.
and you had to pay for a Barclay. I forgot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I'm gonna do some math here, my mom was born in 19. I don't think she. Around 1960s.
No, but you're close. Public education was free for primary students as of 1949, right? For high school students, that was almost 10 years later as a result of the Education Act of 1965. So that means we have been using free public education from primary to the completion of high school for 2 generations. For the preceding centuries of human life here in Bermuda, if you didn't have money, you couldn't go to school. So I think, so we're accustomed, what I'm saying, like culturally, going back centuries, we're used to paying for schooling. So what I'm wondering is if this is just reverting back to our natural baseline, like the public education experiment may have just plain failed. Like our people don't trust it inherently, maybe because it's free, because really it hasn't been going on that much for that long in the context of the island's full history.
Okay, that's something new for me because I didn't even know that was the year that it actually started like that. So it's not even been 100 years of free for public school education in Bermuda. Definitely not, as I'm learning now. Okay, all right, hang on. We got some comments coming in. Anthony Pete says, would not share a status thing. So this is in regards to Charles H. Jefferson's comment. Choice exists, re-education, and that is good. Spent close to 4 decades there in the education space. So he's speaking about his experiences. So it's mainly about like choice. I mean, you spent a lot of time in the education space as well, Tara. Any remarks to that?
Well, I think that Mr. Pete's contribution at bottom is just reasonable. Like people having more options is, I think, necessarily a good thing. It almost doesn't matter what those options are. As long as you got like more than a couple, it gives people more freedom, and more freedom is better. However, I don't know that it's incredibly upsetting to me that in a country where the economic pressure on a significant portion of our community is just getting heavier and heavier, like the burdens they're carrying are getting more and more substantial, to operate in a culture where it, like, going private first is not just sensible, almost it's close to the default position. Like there's it just feels gross to me, you know? Like public education is meant to be the thing that one of 3 things that communities use to improve the conditions in that country for their grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, for the next 17 generations going forward. And our people we don't trust it. And that's almost obscene. And I'm not blaming the community for this, but I think this is reflective of a much, much, much deeper problem. Like if you can't trust your public schools, I feel like everything's got to stop, but stop and just, we got to fix it. We got to get it right. We got to rebuild the trust. We got to connect people with this essential service. But we're just not doing that. And it's incredibly upsetting.
Technically, we're in a space where we're trying to do that, where the government is trying to do that. But again, there's been a lot more up here, as you know, like we both report the news on it, like when it comes to all these transitions, when it comes to signature schools or even the primary parish schools, things like that. It's still a disconnect between, you know, the people and the government in all these decisions. At least that's what's been the general consensus. Now, Anika DeShields also brings in a comment. She says, I've heard people say that once you start paying nursery fees, that they may as well continue to private schools.
Ugh. So, that's depressing.
A lot of comments still coming in at the bottom here. Anika DeShields continues, few Black families could pay for school back in the day. So that was that. Shika Rayner brings up, I don't know anyone paying school fees who want to be paying them. They feel like they don't have a choice. So again, back to like, you know, having the options, but also not trusting the public school system, which was a comment made earlier on. Anthony Peets also puts in, taxpayers right now do the math. Public education about $26K per year? Question.
Like per student. And this is... No, go ahead, Maya.
I was just going to say like that comes out of like the government fees to education.
Right. So the what this means in a country where every other family is deciding to go private, they're voluntarily choosing to basically double the amount that they are charged to get their kid educated. And so for the average person, they're spending $50,000 a year, half of it passively, half of it actively, to educate their child. And if you think about that, like $50,000 a year coming out your pocket to teach your kid the basics when they're 5 or 6 is it feels obscene that this is a rational choice for our people.
Michael Daniels chimes in. He says, how realistic is the general public's expectations of what education should be? That's a good question to ask. Like, well, how do we feel along the baseline of what we feel the education level should be for each and every like schooling level as well for all the children that, you know, are in school right now? Because that was one of the things that they were trying to also accomplish, was to have like every school teaching the same guidelines, because things were always different all around. But that's a good question to ask, like, realistically, what are our expectations when it comes to education, especially in this day and age of 2024? Because we don't need things as much as we did like way back in the day. And it comes to like, okay, I still believe that we need to know the simple basics, but you know, with all this new advancement in technology, it's like, how much do we have to focus on something if there's literally a device that can tell us the answer? Like, you know, but like,
oh Lord, girl,
like, that's like another that's another topic that we're streaming into. Okay, last comment, and then we got to get into the news break. But thank you everyone for engaging with the discussion this morning. So we got WKD Llama says, options are great, but private education offers more opportunities, especially networking. Private school would be my first option. So there's that there. I think that's a good place to close out on and think about as well. Especially as a public school student myself. But yeah, that's one that I remember like thinking about too, when I saw my friends in private school and knowing that, you know, they also had different courses than me. They had the opportunity to take a lot more, you know, even their people within the schools really assisted and held their hands through applying for universities and scholarships and everything like that, and like helped to advance them. Always had alumni. I didn't have that. Okay. Charles H. Jeffers with one more thing here, then we got to go into our news break. Are there any examples of where a jurisdiction went completely private? I'm not sure we do that, but it's going to be hard to get those families back.
Yeah. Now, Charles, I was thinking the same thing as you. So I did some Googling last night, as you know, putting together this package for today. I didn't find anywhere that it is that close to it, but all the information that I was able to suss out indicates that Bermuda is at the top of the global table in developed countries for private school enrollment. Like, it's not even close. We don't have competition in this space.
We got a comment that came from Instagram. It's more of a question, so I guess we have to try to find that for you later. But Shannon Swan says, "What are the current graduation percentages, private versus public, versus 10 years ago?" So trying to see the gap, if where it may have dropped off for public school enrollment graduates versus private school enrollment graduates. So that's another question we could look into as well.
Yeah.
All right, so let's kick it off. Thank you everyone for engaging with this discussion. We can go on forever with it, I promise you, but we got to get into our news break. All right, so Teo, this is your time.
Thank you for my marvelous intro, Maya. I feel very excited to have the person who normally gets that intro play that thing for me. So I feel very special, honored.
Oh.
So the first story, over the last 3 years, 200 grand has been seized and 5 people have been convicted as the result of successful BPS investigations into money laundering. Now, a BPS rep explained via release that the size of the seizures range from this year's to date civil forfeiture of just over $16,000 to nearly $80,000 seizure and conviction in 2023. Now, DCI Jason Smith underlined that the BPS remains, quote, unwavering in its pursuit of those who choose to engage in criminal activity. Now, this all matters because there are several pending court issues involving enough allegedly unlawful money to take the total amount seized by the end of this year to $750,000. Now, what struck me is that, like, money laundering in a place this little is like practical. With like all banks know your customer and anti-money laundering laws, like it takes you weeks to set up a bank account. I just don't know how people involved in this business are able to use local services to facilitate it. It seems like this would be the worst place in the world to launder money.
That's a good point. Is this, like, for the BPS, a pretty good, I guess, year of doing this? Like, is it like one of the top ones? Did they mention anything like that about how much
No,
they collected?
they didn't. No, I love the way you think though, because that was my first thought too. Like, is this a heavy period in capturing money launderers?
Yeah,
right. Because it might be this is like a low point where normally we pick up about 3 million every 4 years. So I don't know. In other news, you've probably already heard, I hope you know, that we've entered yet another exceptional hurricane season. But we wanted to make sure that you understood just how exceptional the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season will be. Global weather experts have identified that tropical cyclones are brewing earlier than usual this year, and they're growing in number and severity due to the ongoing climate crisis. In fact, there are so many systems forecast over the next 5 months, it's possible that meteorologists will run out of pre-selected names for Atlantic storms. In fact, the meteorologists have never predicted this many named storms before in history. That is 25. Does climate change terrify you, for Bermuda in particular, as much as it does me?
Oh, yes, 1,000%. I believe there was a story. I believe it was Guy Foster Skelton. I watched it a while back, and it was just about our own limestone, like erosion, just falling off the cliff and just going, like, realizing like what is causing this to happen. Mainly because it was just like, I guess, sort of like a random location, not places where people drive, and it was an interesting watch. I wish I could remember it word for word, but it just reminded me of just how much temperature levels change, how much we're on our roads, and like the pressure of all the vehicles on our roads as well, that obviously over the years is going to like bring some damage, not just with potholes, but just the fact that we keep digging up on this small island and then have these heavy weighing trucks, which the roads were not made for that. They're made for carriages and wagons way back in the day. We have not really adapted for all these huge vehicles that we are having on our island right now. And then listening even to Cassine, who was on the show yesterday, Mia, talking about our reefs and how integral they are for hurricanes and things like that to protect us. And so like protecting them makes a huge benefit for us. But yeah, and the sargassos, we can go on. But yeah, climate change, everything that's happening right now, the intense, you're saying this is going to be the most hurricanes that they've ever named?
They're predicting the most named storms to show up this year, 25, more than 2 dozen. Now, I'm old enough to remember, like, when I was in high school, there were similarly breathless news reports about there being 12 named storms in a year. Like people were freaking about 20 years ago about half of the amount that we deal with in a year nowadays.
So I think
it is.
Last season was around 10, I think, maybe.
No. It was over 20. But it's yeah. It wasn't that there were over 20 named storms. I can't remember, but I know that the original projection for last year was 21.
Okay, so we're in similar boat. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. What's up now?
Well, there has been a shakeup at the top of the civil service with 4 new permanent secretaries confirmed in the role to run as many ministries. Public Service head Shereen Whittam made the announcement, appointing David Kendall in the post of permanent secretary for the Ministry of Health, while Miss Lisa Smith-Clark has now been appointed to the post of PS for the Education Ministry. Kirk Outerbridge has been confirmed and appointed as permanent secretary for Public Works, and Andrew Pettit has been appointed as PS for the Ministry of Home Affairs. Now, despite their new appointments, the foursome are all veterans of the civil service with close to 75 years of experience working for the state between them.
Oh, good luck to all of them.
Yeah, because it's a lot of folks don't understand the role of permanent secretaries. Honestly, they do more than anybody to make sure the departments function, run, are managed appropriately. So getting people with this level of experience and comprehensive success behind them is just a good thing, I think. So I'm really grateful for this group entering that post. Now, there's going to be a whole lot of people with money and a whole lot of other people trying to convince the first group to give that money to them on Front Street from today through the end of the week. The first annual Bermuda Capital event organized by Capital Connection Builders CEM. It's running from June 7th to 9th at HP. And it's intended to introduce growth stage companies in areas like tech, biotech, resource, and special situations to active top-level capital finance individuals through scheduled one-on-one meetings. Now, this is what I wanted to ask you about in particular, Maya. Almost more than anything else, I came across during my prep last night. Despite relentlessly Googling, I wasn't ever able to figure out what special situations means as far as like an investment opportunity or a growth company. What do you think that actually means?
Special situations.
Yeah.
Your best guess is as good as mine.
Well, no, it feels like terrifyingly ambiguous. like it's a special situation when somebody needs a couple of nuclear weapons on the cheap. Like that's a special situation. It's a special situation when somebody needs to fund the next global pandemic virus. That'd be a special situation. Like that's a horrible name for a category of investment opportunities. I think I feel like they should change it.
They should probably narrow it down a little bit.
Yeah, just clarify. Like what you mean special situations. Don't give me the opportunity to fantasize or speculate because I'll upset myself. So help me. Tell me what this thing means.
You got anything for sports or weather?
I got weather. And we've all probably noticed at this point that the weak cold front that we've been telling you about so far this week has arrived from the north, giving us a bit of rain and cloud this morning. But everything should clear up once we get past noonday. Now, between now and this weekend, the temperatures are going to continue to slowly increase as warm air is transferred into our airspace within some close by southerly wind. So you need your umbrella and raincoat this morning, but after you eat your lunch, you should be straight.
All right. If you want a bike, raincoat, please. Okay, we got a comment actually from David Michael R. Wilson, who actually answered your question that you have for me. So special options like
special situations.
Special situation and unusual stock related asset.
Again, that doesn't help me. That's super ambiguous too. Like, what does that mean?
All right. Thank you for that news break, Teo. So just a reminder to everyone tapping in right now, we're about to bring in Bricen Hakeman after a quick commercial break. Please like, share, comment, bring this conversation to anyone that you know will be really interested in this, because we're talking about their art scholarship that they have offering for the youth of Bermuda. That's going to be really intriguing and interesting to know about, especially if you are part of the art community, but definitely if you know a young person who is, dabbling into those type of crafts. So let's go with our commercial break and we'll be right back.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy from...
Apologies, that was not the correct time for the commercial break, so we're going to continue on with the show. Let's do days in history. So the first day in history we got today is June the 5th, and June the 5th actually quite a day that I think a lot of people remember. Robert F. Kennedy was fatally shot on this day in 1968. Senator Robert Kennedy was shot at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles after winning the California presidential primary. Immediately after he announced to his cheering supporters that the country was ready to end its fractious divisions, Kennedy was assassinated on this day in 1968.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was the second Kennedy to be assassinated in 3 years, because his elder brother, John F. Kennedy, the former president, was assassinated in Texas. I can't imagine being in that family. Like, they just, can you imagine like having your siblings shot like back to back, specifically because of the help they're trying to give to their country? Yeah, that was such an insane period in history.
Yeah. And you got Charles F. Jefferson says 5 years, JFK 1963 there.
Thank you, Charles. Yeah. Because Lyndon Johnson was elected in 65, after Kennedy was shot in 63. My bad, bro. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Little helpful knowledge there. Thank you, Charles F. Jefferson. Yeah, I see. The thing is, like, I don't even remember learning about that. I think that was something that definitely came from community knowledge and passing it down. I don't recall even like in schools. That's something that that was not a focus.
Well,
to learn.
to be honest with you though, Maya, like it frustrates me a little bit that our experience of history academically is so US centric. You know what I mean? Like, I know they're the dominant player in the global markets and stuff, but I don't know why anybody in a place like this would really need to know like what happened to American presidents like that. So don't feel bad about it. Like, you weren't supposed to be taught it in Bermudian schools anyway, I don't think.
All right. So now let's go on to our commercial break, and then we'll bring in the CEO of Mailboxes, Bricen.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's. I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
It took 14 days to build your business plan. 6 months to build the courage to leave your day job. 3 weeks to find the perfect location. It took 10 days to outfit your space just right. And 1 day before your first client walked in the door. All totaled, it took you a full year to get your business operational. And this is just the beginning. To the entrepreneurs, the risk takers, the people that shape our economic community, we salute you and are here for you every step of the way. BEDC, providing knowledgeable, progressive, professional, and innovative support to Bermuda businesses.
Summer is almost here. Dive into the season with dog floats and dog pools. Enjoy 20% off West Pola's dog floating toys and shop our life jackets for safety in the water this summer. Get all your summer needs before the holidays and events begin. Don't forget to stock up on poo bags and check out Dicky Bags, the poo bag holder that locks in the smell until you can dispose of it. Remember, even dogs need sunblock, so visit Noah's Ark today, Bermuda's most trusted animal supply store, for all your summer essentials, and ask us about our rewards program.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. My pleasure here with Teo, bringing you the news of today and also an amazing conversation that we have going on as well. So this is a big show. It's a daily hour brought to you by BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lenders, and People's Pharmacy. Don't forget to subscribe to our website and follow us on all our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. So now help us as we go beyond the mic to improve the community. And with your help, TDH family, we'd like to welcome in Bricen Hakeman, the CEO of Mailboxes.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I was froze there for a second. I'm like, wait, am I in there or not? So morning.
Good morning, sir.
How's everyone doing today? Good. Yes. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. I'm excited to talk a lot about kind of what you've already kicked off, companies being involved in the community. So thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for being here. Because we really want to talk about this program that you have going on that I'm pretty excited about. So start us off with just what is the Art Mailbox Scholarship that you have going on, and when did the initiative come about?
Yeah, so the formal name for it is the Whole Package Art Scholarship. So this is the first time that Mailboxes has ever hosted a scholarship like this. And really, we started kind of conceptualizing the idea. We had one of our managers, Mike Kelly, who basically said hey, look, why don't we get the community involved as we talk about developing the artwork for our new packaging? So that's exactly what we did. And really, it was about a 60-day scholarship art competition or contest, if you will, where we engaged artists from age 11 to 14 was the first group. And the second group was age 15 to 18. And we basically said, go out there and create your best art and show the world in Bermuda what you can kind of dream up and draw about Bermuda. And then there was extra points given if you could link Bermudian culture and our island and the beauty of our island back to what Mailboxes does on a day-to-day basis. So that was kind of the, that was the task that was set out there. And I have to say, some of the contestants and some of the submissions we saw were just my mind was blown. So it was really, really cool. I don't know if we've shared the art scholarship, the winners yet, the actual art that they drew up. But what I have to say is I think the coolest part about it is there are some really unique drawings on the packaging, and those packages are going to go across the world, across the globe. So whether you're shipping a package from the US into Bermuda, obviously you'll see it here locally in Bermuda and we can share it amongst our community. But also when things leave Bermuda and they go to the rest of the world, they have potential to have this packaging on there. And it very clearly says Bermuda, and it's got our gambes on there. It's got the moon gates. So a lot of cool things. And yeah, I think this is just one of many initiatives that Mailboxes is involved in to try to give back to the community. And not so much, I think it's a really interesting topic you touched on earlier, is public versus private. And for me personally, I went back and forth between the two, right? But what we really tried to target through this scholarship was not so much the school aspect of it, but it was being involved after school. Activities and hobbies outside of school so that you can get those networking opportunities irrespective of what school you go to or where you're from. that's really amazing. Putting it into a larger perspective, these young artists essentially get to have their work shown globally through Mailboxes. Yeah, it's a pretty cool initiative, isn't it? Yeah. So for the community, you'll start to see we're June 5th now. So the community will start to see those probably around Christmas time, maybe a little bit after. Right now, we've got a lot of red packages sent with love and smiley packages here. So those will kind of run out right around the holiday season. And then we'll start to bring in the winner's artwork. So I can run through those names. I actually should, because I think they deserve the recognition. But the age groups 11 to 14, you had Sienna Walters, who was in first place. Jamel Franks took second place, and Gemma Burrows took third place. So congratulations to all three of them. And then from the age group 15 to 18, we had Michaela Tavares, Kaya Sansbury, and Rakai Lightborn. So yeah, it was just, they did some amazing work. So if we don't have it sent over to you yet, we will definitely send it to you. Or better yet, come ship with Mailboxes and you guys can see it firsthand right around the new year.
Definitely will.
Trust me, I will be in that building because, forgive me, honey, I have an American wife. Lots of shipping to the household takes place.
Definitely. Got a comment here just saying, well done to the participants. Definitely, indeed. Congratulations to all the participants. And that was another question for you that I had was like, how many applicants did you actually receive for this, and how were the winners kind of determined?
Yeah, it's a great question, Maya. So we had somewhere around, it was between 8 and 11 actual participants. So, which for our first one, we were happy to see the participation as a whole. The beautiful part about it is we had 6 winners. So basically anyone who really submitted had a really good opportunity to kind of get involved and get some sort of scholarship back. I mean, in total, we gave $4,000 back to all 6 participants. So it was a good chance to get involved. I know that it was our first one, and we've kind of started to bring up all the conversations, and I think we're hearing from the community and our clients already saying like, hey, how do I get involved, and how do I make sure I'm in it next year? So I would just say we're going to make this an annual thing. Stay tuned next year. It's right around January, February of every year that we're going to start to do this. So stay tuned. Keep in touch with our Instagram page, our Facebook page, and that's where we'll start to make those announcements. And then always, we hit up our clients via email and let them know when those sorts of things kick off. And I think that kind of answers your question there. But certainly, if I missed it, go ahead and delve deeper.
Well, the next question was, how were the winners actually determined for the criteria?
Yes.
But also, audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to plug them in. Ask Bricen anything while he's here. But yeah, how were the winners determined?
Yeah, the winners determined. So this was really, again, because we wanted to remain objective. We, obviously everyone has their bias and they want to pick the artwork, and we're a small community. So the thing that we did is we put out the vote to the public, more or less. So we had a week-long social media voting and poll opportunity. I know the Work Academy was heavily involved in kind of getting some of their students and pushing their artwork out there to the community. So it was really selected by the community. And the results were overwhelming in both categories. So by time the results made it to Mailboxes, it was very clear on who the winners were. So that was kind of the winner selection process. Yeah.
Oh, nice, amazing. Okay, so I guess next question would be like, why did you decide to support youth art in particular, and like, how does that actually kind of sync up with YouLot's brand?
Yeah, it's another great question, Maya. So I think, this is the first one of 2024. And the first one, I mean, by giving back and really being involved in the community in a kind of a big way. So art was based off a specific business need and seeing where, we've got tons of talent in our community, and you see all the artwork that's kind of been put up on the buildings and artists getting involved. So it just happened to be kind of a perfect match and a perfect time and a little bit of a business need, but also recognizing there's a lot of artists in the community. So this was really just the first one, and that's kind of how it came about. But, we're also involved in a lot of different things. So if I think back to kind of other initiatives and folks that we sponsor, so we sponsor Bermuda Bouncers, who work very closely with the Bermuda Heart Foundation. They work very closely with the Jump to Be Fit program within our public school systems to help, keep our youth heart healthy, basically, more or less. We work with PALS, who's not necessarily a school program, but we're involved in trying to help raise funds for cancer research and care within the community. We're sponsoring a young Bermudian, Isaiah Devine, who's overseas, and he's racing in the R&G British Talent Cup on motocross. So he actually was a scholarship winner and an award winner for the Bermuda government just a couple weeks ago. So there's a lot of different things that we really, we want to give back to the community, and it's about how do we get better involved, not just to be a business and run, but how do we get back and be involved in the community? And so, yeah, it's not just art. This just happens to be the first one that that we've kind of really kicked off in a big way. But I think you'd be shocked, and I'm excited to come back in a couple months, hopefully, and talk a lot more about the other initiatives that kind of have gone off throughout 2024 and what we'll look to do in 2025. I would just say if people are interested and you've got your pitch ready and you really want to seek sponsorship or support from Mailboxes, please don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, we honestly sit down and we consider every single request that comes in and see how we can support, our community in different ways.
Nice. Before I pass
That
over to
that
you,
is
Tim, I have a question.
yeah. Thanks, Mike. Like I am so gratified, sir, for you articulating the depth of Mailbox's commitment to community support. Like just that list that you ran through of different parts of the community that you're helping. It feels like Mailboxes would have to be like pound for pound one of the most charitable companies on the island. Like you're doing a lot. Why have you chosen to make that commitment to the community that you're not obligated to provide such a central part of your day-to-day activity?
Yeah, Tao, it's a really good question. So so I think, first and foremost, I can rattle through them, and I'm sure I missed some. So I'm apologizing if I missed anyone in advance. But I rattle through it because I think it is something that's near and dear to my heart. And sometimes I think they always say like the judge of a man's character or woman's character is not what they do in the public eye, but it's what they do outside of the public eye. So it's not often that we're out here trying to really highlight where we're sponsoring and how we're necessarily supporting the community, but we fundamentally believe in giving back to our community in that sense. And to your question, why and what drives us to do that, I think we are your neighbor. So if you've seen our advertisements out on social media and across the different platforms, one of them says like we probably are your neighbor. And by and large, we're 97% Bermudian, and I think we take a lot of pride in our community. So it's about how do we give back? How do we help our neighbor? And then if I think about, myself personally as kind of the leader of the organization, I unfortunately, my family was unfortunately impacted by, cancer and losing my father. So that's something that's near and dear to my heart. And, when I lost him, it was kind of at a pivotal point in my professional career. And I think giving back to the community in a way that, I got shorted more or less because of a medical situation. Those are the things that make it near and dear to my heart as a leader. But I know I'm just one person. There's many stories and many folks within our business, our 20-something employees who are actively involved, not just because the company says to do it, but they actively buy into it because it means something to them.
That may be the most reassuring thing that I've heard from a business leader in I don't know how long. Like tell me if this is an accurate characterization. You feel like it's your responsibility as a member of the community to support the community at the same time as you provide a service for compensation. Like both things are about at the same level.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of being a good corporate citizen. And look, at the end of the day, there competition marketplace. There are people have an option, and who they want to use as a shipping partner here in Bermuda. You have to ship things to Bermuda, and we acknowledge that. You have to buy locally, and we acknowledge that as well. And we want to support our local businesses. We're here to give the consumers an option to ship things into Bermuda when it's not available locally. But then from there, you also have options on how to ship things here. And I think when we look at, our competition, whoever it may be, locally or abroad, we want to be the provider of choice, not just because, we have the fastest service or the best service and the best customer experience. So we think, but we also want to be the people who we can look in the mirror at the end of the day and say, we've done our part, right? And you are buying into not just the brand and what it does for you as a consumer, but you're also buying into what we deliver back to the community. And that's what we promote. That's what we really believe in. I hope that answers your question, Tao.
It absolutely does. Again, thank you, sir. Like this has been a really reassuring conversation to hear from a leader of a leading business that selling their product is only as important as the health of the community that they're selling the product to, which is wonderful. Now, this may be a little early because we're so excited about the next iteration of the art contest. Are you going to plan to make it a bit bigger? Because you gave away a whole bunch of money to a whole bunch of students, but I was wondering if that number is anticipated to go up. Because I know there's so many aspiring university art and design students that like could use that kind of help to get their tuition paid for.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, look, I'd love to give as much money away as we possibly can, right? So, so I think it will really. We have to look at, obviously, we're a business, right? So we have to look at, what we can give back to charitable donations, and we have to look at how we want to divvy that money up, right? So I'm a firm believer of kind of spread it out as much as you can across all the different areas and have a nice long list so we can help many different people versus putting all our eggs into kind of one basket. But it also has to be a meaningful contribution. If you go give $1 to all 200 and something charities on island, it's not really going to do anything, right? So we want to make sure it's meaningful to the charity and it supports the charity. And we also obviously have to kind of manage that within the business. So I hope it does go up. I really do, Teo. I mean, it's a great opportunity. We've had many other organizations reach out. We had people ask about a music scholarship, which I won't get too far into it, but that's up for consideration next year. And how do we involve the School of Music and those sorts of things? So again, there's tons of opportunities. I see a lot of sponsorship and scholarship requests come in. I would say that we do our best to try to give back to them all. So please don't hesitate. You can send any requests into info@mailboxes.bm. And, we'll certainly be in touch one way or another. And as we get into kind of the 2024, 2025 budgeting season, we'll be reaching back out for additional details on what does that actually look like and how can we contribute and what does that result in for the recipients.
That sounds good to me.
Lovely.
Awesome.
It's amazing. We have a question here from the audience from Shares Wolf. They say, sorry, I missed the first part of the interview. Are all schools and after-school programs involved with submitting the art for the competition?
Yeah, Ms. Wolf. So great question. So this was open to anyone in the public. The one qualifier is that we did want the recipients. Obviously, there are two qualifiers. They're under the age of 18. So one, we needed parent or guardian approval and authorization that they could participate in the scholarship. And two was to be a Mailboxes member. So those were the only two stipulations as far as entering the contest. But outside of that, it's open to public, private. This year was the ages 11 through 14 and 15 through 18. If there's recommendations or feedback, we are totally open to it. We are a feedback-driven organization. So if there's different age groups that we should be considering or different target audiences, we are totally open to hearing that feedback. And I hope to see your contestant next year.
Amazing.
Right
Well,
on.
closing out, sorry, Atera, I think you have one more about, how can future applicants get in there?
Oh, but that was future applicants. Will they enter in the same way as they've done this year, or you haven't sort of nailed down the details for the next iteration of the contest yet?
Yeah, next iteration of the contest. So basically, it will go live in January, February. They will go through the same way they submitted this year, which is basically you go to a Mailboxes website. It'll have a few quick questions. Obviously, the parent or the guardian authorization form there. And then from there, you basically upload your artwork right into a portal and we get it from there. It is a bit tight on timing. Some of that is, by design, right? Because we want it to be authentic and we want people to go out and draw and put their efforts into such a great cause within the time frame. And we want to make that contest fair, right? So you won't know the exact contest and like what the requests are from the art scholarship and the whole package art scholarship, but you won't know that until we post it next year, January, February. What I would say is, if you're starting to think about it now and you're saying like, oh, we're definitely going to enter that thing next year, you can start thinking about some of those concepts now, because I'm sure whatever you think of now, you'll be able to integrate and bring together next year when we post the requirements.
Oh, that's good
Thank you
advice.
so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, great advice. Thank you so much, Bryson, for coming by the show and giving us all this knowledge. And congratulations to all the participants for sure. Definitely. Oh yeah, we got some great comments coming to you. He is an excellent example to others. Thank you, Mr. Mailbox Commercial Guy. You are awesome.
Thanks, Suzanne. Thanks for having me, Teo, and my nice job on your first time. So I know we missed Jamel here, but thanks for having me again. I will see you later this year for sure. And if anyone needs anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us here at Mailboxes. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good to spend some time with you.
Awesome conversation there from Mr. Mailbox himself. All right, so we're gonna throw it to a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Take a look at our workwear for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Paired with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
All right, so it's time for the Daily Play brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. You can follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Okay, Teo, are you ready for this question?
Yep.
All right. So this question this morning is about music. It's about music. All right, so the first, here we go. Question. How many Grammy Awards did Michael Jackson win?
I got it. 12. 12.
Very close.
Those sound effects are painful.
Yeah, everyone was like 25. Mark Anthony Super. Okay, so Makai got it first. It came on the screen there. 13. Stacey Ann Brown also got it 13.
Oh man, I was so
Mark
close.
25. That's a lot. But yeah, 13 is still a lot. He was awesome, as Susan Ingham did say. That is a lot. You were close though. So sorry, Tim.
Yeah, no, I'm slightly impressed with myself because I honestly didn't think I was going to be that close at all. But I figured I would go in the middle. It was a good guess. I'm proud of myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. All right. So let's go
Thank
to
you.
some daily inspiration. And then I want to get you to kind of wrap it up first, Tara, and talk about like what you enjoyed the most about today's conversation. But the inspiration for today, and I think it kind of aligns with our whole discussion, is I don't believe in art. I believe in artists, from Marcel Duchamp.
That's good, because nothing in our world exists, doesn't have context, doesn't have meaning, except when it comes to how people interpret and experience it, right? Like we have informed the world with meaning, and artists are essential to helping us understand what matters in our lives. So yeah, that's a really good quote.
Yeah. All right, so don't forget to subscribe on our website and follow us on all our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, but help us as we go beyond the mic, as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Company, Medical House, Linda's, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this for you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us a part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back again on Friday, as there's no live show tomorrow on Thursday. Sorry for that, but there's no live show tomorrow on Thursday. I'm Matt Palacio, he's Teo Deal, and please drive safely, Bermuda.
Have a good day, y'all. Thanks a lot.